Hello everyone, I'm Dharti Chandramouli Yashoda, SAP consultant from Crypt Inc. Crypt is a leading SAP supply chain execution and compliance consulting services partner. Our focus is on helping businesses leverage the supply chain execution suite to gain a competitive advantage and increase their bottom line by offering services that include implementations, upgrades, and support. It is a one-stop shop for GTS, GRC, TM, EWM, and EM. Our consultants bring global knowledge and experience from over 10 industries. We have over 300,000 hours of consulting experience in SAP GTS, GRC, SCE. We have also provided solutions to various industries like chemical, finance, life sciences, wholesale, etc. We have a product named Whisker. It is a BI solution for supply chain operations. It can be connected with SAP components including GTS, EWM, TM, EM, etc. It can also be connected with non-SAP systems. As a part of Whisker implementation, we design, deploy, and manage the product, which mainly includes project planning, system design and implementation, post-go-live production support. For more information, please visit our website or send us an email at callcrypt@cryptinc.com. A demo will be presented by our SAP consultant on the following topic.
Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Naveen Nadapurohit, Lead SAP Transportation Management Consultant with Crypt Incorporated. And in this Ready to Run Crypt demo series, today I will be taking you through one of the topics related to charges, that is the rate table partial key determination. We will be using SAP TM 9.1 solution for the system demonstration. So this is the agenda. Initially, we will be going through the process overview or the business use case as to why this process is present in TM solution. Then the customizing or the master data setup required for this process to run into the system. And then the process demo. Finally, the summary of the things that we have learned in this session. And the contact details in order to contact Crypt Incorporated for further information. So the process overview. The system can determine the correct rate even when the relevant information is missing from the forwarding order, freight order, or the rate table. So when one or the two attributes are missing in this forwarding order, freight order, or the rate table, but the rates are present, then the system determines the multiple rates, and then you can select the appropriate rate that is fitting the current scenario. Note that the system can determine the multiple rates only if the calculation base that is assigned is missing in the forwarding order or the freight order is not numeric. So it will be applicable for those kind of scale basis like means of transport, mode of transportation, and not for gross weight and gross volume, which are numeric. So when a carrier is assigned to a stage in the forwarding order or the freight order, but there is no rate for that carrier in the rate table, the system determines a generic rate for that particular scenario. So if I have to give an example, we are calculating the charges for a freight order, and the scale base which we have taken is means of transport. So the carrier has assigned that means of transport in the freight order and is calculating the charge. So he will be able to get the rate that is present against that means of transport in the rate table. But in a scenario wherein the means of transport assigned to a freight order is different than the one that is given in the scale or in the rate table. So in that case, the charge calculation would appropriately fail, and a system would generate an error message telling that the charge calculation error has happened because the charge engine was not able to pick up an appropriate rate value from the rate table. So in order to overcome this particular thing, there is a field called as item with no value allowed in the rate table. So if this checkbox is checked against a particular scale, so what happens is a generic rate can be maintained for that particular rate scale value. So if there is a means of transport scale in a rate table and a generic rate has been maintained, so in a freight order where we are giving a means of transport that is different from the means of transport in the rate table, it will pick up the generic rate and not fail by telling that it was not able to retrieve any particular route value from the rate table. So this is the overview. The customizing and the master data setup, the charge structure will be required to be set up appropriately. So in this scenario, we are having two scales. First is the mode of transportation scale base, and the second is means of transportation. Then second is the rate table. And in this rate table, the means of transport scale, we will be checking the item with no value allowed checkbox. Then we will be creating the calculation sheet and the freight agreement. Since we are doing it for the freight order, this is on the purchasing side. We will be appropriately creating the freight agreement between a carrier and a purchasing organization. We're going through the process demo. So initially, before going through the process, I would like to show you the master data setup that I have done. Go to the display scale. So we'll be checking the means of transport scale. So in this, in the general data tab, we can see the scale base maintained is means of transport, and this is not a numeric scale. And I have maintained one means of transport. ZMTR is the means of transport and the calculation type is absolute. I'll show you the mode of transportation scale base. So herein I have created the scale base as a mode of transportation, and I have maintained four different scale items with road, rail, sea and air as the different transportation modes, and the calculation type is absolute. So these are the two scales that I have created. These have got consumed in the rate table that I have created. So I'll go to the general data tab. So here you can see the charge type is FRT, and the charge usage is for both the sales and the purchasing side, the customer and service provider. And here I have defined the two different scales, the transportation mode and the means of transport. And appropriately for the means of transport, we can see that the item with no value allowed, this checkbox has been checked. Now we'll go to the dates and values tab. So here I have created a validity range for this rate table, and the currency appropriately have maintained. And here we can see it is picking the scale value as ZMTR from the means of transport scale and a generic that is denoted by star for the transportation mode against the transportation mode, and appropriate the rate values have been maintained. So if for a particular transportation mode the means of transport doesn't match in the order document, it will pick the generic value that is against the star. So the charge calculation would not fail in this case. The charge engine would retrieve some value from the rate table when it is trying to calculate the charge. And then I will release this rate table so that it can be used in the calculation sheet and further documents. Now I will go to the calculation sheet. So this is the calculation sheet that I have created. So the charge usage is same as that of the rate table, the customer and the service provider. Here I have created one charge line item, which is with 20. The charge type is FRT, which is similar to the one in the rate table. And if I have just navigate to the rate tab, you can see that I have given the same rate table which we have created previously. So once the scales, the rate table and the calculation sheet have been created, go ahead and create the freight agreement, which will consume all the three previously created documents. So if I go to this FA underscore partial underscore key, which is the relevant freight agreement for the current scenario, I have given the validity dates, the currency, the purchasing organization is 500 and the business partner is Conway, who is the carrier who is going to ship the goods from the source to the destination location. And then I create one freight line item and I will use the TCCS that I have created. So here you can see the details have flown from the TCCS into the freight agreement, the same rate table and the charge type. So this is the charge structure that has to be maintained for this current scenario. As said in the presentation, this scenario can be run on forwarding order as well as on the freight order. So we'll be doing it on the freight order in this current scenario. So I'll just go and create a forwarding order initially. Um, I will use an existing forwarding order, or you can as well use a template or create a forwarding order right from scratch. And just click on continue. So now I'll just copy this forwarding order. So this scenario demonstration which I am doing, it will be break up into three different parts. So the first is when we are trying to calculate the charge, we'll be picking the appropriate means of transport. That is the ZMTR that is defined in the scale. In the second scenario, we'll be giving a means of transport that is different from ZMTR in the freight order. And finally, in the third scenario, we will not be giving any means of transport itself in the freight order. And then we will be trying to calculate the charges and see how the charge calculation engine retrieves the values. So this is the new forwarding order. You just click on check. The document is complete. And then just click on save. So after I click on save, I'll just go to this document flow tab. And we can see that an appropriate freight unit has been created. Now I'll just go to follow up and then just click on start transportation cockpit. So for the transportation cockpit, you'll have to have your own selection profile, planning profile already defined, which will be able to appropriately pick the freight unit that you want to plan. Just select it and click on continue. So here in this main screen of the transportation cockpit, just select the appropriate freight unit that has to be planned. It has already been selected, that is ending with 117. And I will try to select the means of transport as ZMTR, and then just click on plan selected items. So it says that the scheduling is successful. Then just click on save. The data has been saved successfully and freight order 553 has been created. Now we will go to this edit of freight order. Give 553 and just click on continue. So in here we will navigate to the general data tab and fill the missing details in this freight order. The carrier as Conway and the purchasing organization ending with 29. Just click on enter. Now we will navigate to the charges tab. Here we can see the transportation mode as 01 in the general data tab. The transportation mode is 01 road and the means of transport is ZMTR. So appropriate rate values can be picked. We'll just click on calculate charges. It says a success message that the charges has been completed successfully. I'll navigate to the charges tab. Sorry. So here we can see that the charge calculation status is calculated and the total amount is 2000 US dollars. So I'll just drill down in this tree and select this charge line item and then just click on show hide details. I'll just come down and just go to this calculation rules tab. So here in this logistical data tab, you can see that the rate table it has picked for charge calculation is the same one which we had created. Dimension is means of transport. The data source value in the freight order which we have given is ZMTR and the scale value was also ZMTR. So it has appropriately mapped the values from the rate table as well as the freight order and has calculated the charges. So the charge calculated is 2000 US dollars. We can verify it by navigating through the rate table. So just click on the rate table. So here we can see the transportation mode is 01, the means of transport is ZMTR, and the appropriate rate value is 2000 US dollars. So it has appropriately calculated the charges in this freight order. And just click on save. So this was the first scenario. Now we will go to the second scenario, wherein we will be giving a means of transport which is not present in the rate table or the scale item value. I'll create a new forwarding order. and just click on continue. I'll copy it, then just click on save. So appropriately, a new freight unit has also been created for the forwarding order in context. Then just click on Start Transportation Cockpit. We'll select the appropriate selection and the planning profile, and then just click on continue. We will navigate to the respective freight unit. It has been selected 118, and I will select a different resource with a different means of transport, which is not ZMTR. So in this case, the means of transport I have selected is ZTL, and then just click on plan selected items. It gives the success message, and then just click on save. So appropriately, a freight order has been created with 554. We will navigate to edit of freight order. Just click on continue. Navigate to the general data tab. So here we can see the transportation mode is 01 and the means of transport is ZTL. So I will give the carrier as Conway and the purchasing organization ending with 29. And then I will click on charge calculation. So it gives me a success message telling that charges have been calculated successfully. So in this case, the charge calculated is 1000 US dollars. Again, I will select this charge line item. And I'll click on show height details. And navigate to this calculation rules tab. So here we can see that the data source value which we had given in the freight order is ZTL, and the scale value it has appropriately picked is star because it didn't find a value with ZTL in the scale or in the rate table. So it has picked a generic value. Means of transportation mode remains same, 01 in this case. And just navigate to this overview tab. We'll just go to this rate table. So here we can see the transportation mode is 01 and the means of transport is star, and the rate value associated with it is 1000 US dollars. So it has appropriately picked the generic rate value since it was not able to find the means of transport appropriately given in the scale value. We'll just click on save of this freight order. It gives a save as successfully. So now the third scenario is wherein we are not going to give any of these means of transport. So I'll just click on create road freight order. I'll give the source location as TM customer 1. The departure, the departure date is 25. The destination location is customer 2. The arrival date is 30th September. Just click on OK. So I'll just click on save. So we can see that a freight order 555 has been created. I'll just go to the edit of freight order. And just give 555 and hit continue. I will again go to the general data tab. Then I'll give the transportation mode as 01. Then the carrier and the appropriate purchasing organization. We can see that we haven't given a means of transport value in this freight order. Then just I will navigate to the charges tab. I'll just click on calculate charges. Oh, to maintain an item. So appropriately created a gross weight as 25 kg and gross volume as 5 cubic meter, a product item. And just click on this check document. Then we'll just go to this charges tab. Click on calculate charges. Select the charge line item and then click on I'll select the charge line item. So here we can see that this multiple rates, this tab has got enabled. So I'll just click on multiple rates. Now since we have not given any value in the means of transport, the flexibility of choosing what value of charge you want lies with the end user. So here we can see that it is showing us two values. The transportation mode is 01 And as we have not given the means of transport, so there are two entries with transportation mode 0, 1. One is the actual value of ZMTR and the other is the generic rate value. So we can appropriately select the one we want. We'll just click on this 2000 with the ZMTR and then just click on OK. So we can see that it has appropriately populated the charge value. Navigate to the General Data tab. And then I will click on Save. So here in the Charges tab, we can see the logistical data. So here in the Calculation Rules tab, we can see that the data source value given in this freight order is blank, and we have appropriately from the multiple rates we have selected ZMTR as the scale value. The transportation mode remains the same, 0, 1. So appropriately it has given the end user the flexibility to calculate what charge you want, the what charge line entry you want in this freight order. So this was the third scenario. That was the end of demo. The next is summary. Um, what we learned here is even if the critical parameter is missing in the freight order or in the forwarding order, the charge engine has the flexibility to calculate the charges using the generic rate value against that particular scale which we have given in the rate table. If the item with no value allowed checkbox is checked. So thus the charge calculation engine doesn't fail by telling that it was not able to retrieve an appropriate charge value. The following are the details in order to contact Crypt Incorporated, Crypt website, and you can also mail us at callcrypt@cryptinc.com. This is a serious venture that Crypt Incorporated is taking into account, and there will be further more informative ready-to-run series demos that will be presented. So watch out. Thank you.